Good morning, everyone. So I hope you are able to see my screen and my voice is also audible. Yes, all of you mute your mics, stop your camera so that I can get started. All right. In yesterday's session, we are trying to understand REST architecture principles, right? In today's session, we will start working with REST application creation, building first REST application using Spring Boot. Right. Now, next. So today it is 5th July 2020. All right. Now, so what is REST API? So we are using these REST APIs to develop distributed applications with interoperability. So for RESTful services, there is no specification. For RESTful services, there is no specification. For RESTful services, we have architecture principles. For RESTful services, we have architecture principles. We are having architecture principles. Who provided these principles? REST architecture principles provided by REST architecture principles provided by Roy Fielding. Provided by Roy Fielding. Can you tell me what are those principles? REST architecture principles. What are those? REST architecture principles. What are those principles? Come on. What is first one? First one is unique addressability. First one is unique addressability. What is the second one? Uniform constraint interfaces. Uniform constraint interfaces. Third one is media representation or message oriented representation. Message oriented representation. Fourth one, communication stateless. Communication stateless. Fifth one, HETIOS. So these are called 5 REST architecture principles. These are the building blocks of developing our RESTful services in the projects. Just read these principles once. REST architecture principles provided by Roy Fielding. First one is unique addressability. Second one, uniform constraint interfaces. Third one, message oriented representation. Fourth one, communication stateless. Fifth one, HETIOS. So these are the 5 principles provided by Roy Fielding. How he provided these 5 principles? How he provided these 5 principles? He provided these 5 principles based on internet services. Everybody able to access internet services very easily. Everybody able to access internet service very easily, but people are not able to access SOAP web services easily. As a alternate to the SOAP based web services, Roy Fielding provided RESTful services. So unique addressability means every REST operation should bind to unique URL pattern. Every distributed component, every distributed component should bind to unique URL. Should bind to unique URL. Uniform constraint interface. We should write limited and same methods. We should write limited and same methods in distributed component. In distributed components. How can we do that? HTTP request methods. Whatever the methods you write in the REST API, you should bind those methods to HTTP request methods like get, post, put, delete. These are the very important methods when we are working with the REST API. HTTP get, HTTP post, HTTP put and HTTP delete. These are very important HTTP methods that we are going to use while working with RESTful services. Note, this is used to provide, note, this second principle aim. The aim of the second principle is, to provide easy accessibility and adaptability. Easy accessibility and adaptability. So everybody can easily able to access our REST APIs. If they know how to send a request in the browser, then they can access our REST API. But SOAP is not like that. No. Media representation or message oriented representation provides support for exchanging data in multiple formats like XML, JSON, text, etc. Message-oriented representation provides support for exchanging data in multiple formats. This is used to provide real interoperability. This principle provides real interoperability. This principle provides real interoperability. Are you able to follow this? When you go for SOAP, you can exchange the data only in the XML format. You can exchange the data only in the SOAP XML format. But when it comes to the REST, you are not limited to only XML. You can exchange the data in any format. Now, assume that I have two clients. One person is interested to send the XML, one person is interested to send the JSON. Yes, I will support for both because I am real interoperable person. That support is there in the RESTful services, but that is not there in the SOAP based web services. Right. Next one, communication stateless. Communication stateless means we should not store any information related to client in server. Communication stateless nothing but every request should be treated as a first request only. Every request should be treated as a first request only. We should not think about the session management here. Whenever you learn your servlets or you learn about your Spring MVC, you might have used session management. Did anybody work with the session management? Come on guys. Did anybody work with the session management? Yes. What is the purpose of the session management? Why we will use a session in the web applications? Yeah, it is for one per one project. Why we will use it? To share the data or to store the data? Session is used to store the data. So for specific to user, for user information we are going to store in the session. Why? Because when user send multiple requests, our server able to recognize, yes, this is the customer old client request only. So if you log in first time, if you log in once, then you can access anything available in the application because your data will be available in the session. But when it comes to the RESTful services, our Roy Fielding saying that client and server should communicate statelessly. Client and server should communicate in a stateless manner. So what is the meaning of this? So in the REST also, two actors are involved. One is called as a client and another one is called as a resource. This is called as client and this is called as a resource. One is called as client, another one is called as a resource. Now, client is sending a request to the resource. Client is sending a request to the resource. Resource is sending a response to the client. Now, this is HTTP request and this is HTTP response. HTTP request and HTTP response. Client and resource. Client is making a HTTP request to the resource. Resource will process that request and resource will send data back to the client. Once data is sent back to the client, once data is sent back to the client, once data is sent back to the client, that client information will not be available in the resource. That client information will not be available in the resource. Are you guys able to follow this? Guys, give me 1 second. Right. Now, here in the RESTful services also we have client and server. We have client and resource. Client will send a request to the resource. Resource will process that request and will send the response to client. Will send the response to client. Client and resource. Client will send a request to the resource. Resource will send response to the client. Once the client send a request, resource send the response, that client information will not be available in the server. That is the third principle. Communication stateless. That means we should not do session management in the REST API. Session should not be used in the REST API. So every client request should be considered as a fresh request only. First I send one request, you processed it. When I send a second request, it is a new request for you. It is a new request for you. But in the web application, that is not the scenario. In the web application, first once client send a request, once client logged in, server will maintain client information in the session. When second request sent by the client, server will recognize this is an old client. This is an old client again sending the same request. Second sending a different request. But in the REST API, that should not be there. Every request should be considered as a new request only. Every client request will be considered as a new request only. That is the principle. Fourth principle. Communication stateless. Client information should not be stored in the REST API. I hope you are clear with this. Simply we need to avoid the session management in the REST API. Every request, every request, REST API means pages will not be available, sir. It is a B2B communication, no presentation in the REST API. Every request will be considered as a new request. Every request will be considered as a new request. If there is a web page, then it is a web application. In the REST APIs, in the REST APIs, this UI will not be available. Only application to application communication through web services. There is no presentation for that. If there is a presentation, it is called as a web server. It is called as a web application. every request will be considered as a new request. Right. Now, next, what is the fourth principle? HETEOS. HETEOS. So, hypermedia as an engine for application state. Hypermedia as an engine for application state. HETEOS means hypermedia as an engine for application state. So what is the meaning of that? What is the meaning of that? Every day you are going to use what is this hypermedia as an engine for application state. Right? Now, the meaning of this is server should send response to clients using hyperlinks. Server should send response to clients using hyperlinks. Hypermedia as an engine for application state. So application state. So how? When client makes a request, server will send the response to the clients in the hypermedia format. So what is the meaning of that? Now let us see here. Now, so if you go for, I want to retrieve one employee data from a server, I will pass employee ID, http dot double colon www dot samashokit dot in slash get slash 101. So this is the request I am giving. This is the request. Assume that this is course ID 101. Now from the Ashok IT Institute, you want to get some course ID information. So CID-101, course ID 101, you are sending a request. Then what I will do is, I will send you some JSON data as a response. I will tell you course ID is CID-101, fine. Course name, I'm going to tell you this is boot with MS, boot and microservice, comma. Now I'm going to provide you start date, course start date. So it is something like 20th July, some 2020. Then I will tell you start time. Then timings I'm going to provide you. Timings I'm going to provide you at 7:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. 7:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. Trainer details we are going to provide. My name I am going to write it. Fine. Now along with this I will give you course content. I will give you course content as www.ashokit.in.get CID-101/content. I will give response like this. Now you are requesting for a course information. In this request only I can send you course details and I can send you course content also. In this request only I can send you course details and I can send you course content also. Course details and I can send you course content also. But why I am not sending course content? That is not required for you. You are not requesting for that. You just send a request for CID 101. So I am sending you only course details. So for the content, I am giving you the hyperlink. If you access this hyperlink, that means you send me one more request by using this hyperlink, then I will give you the remaining details. Unnecessarily, I don't want to give you everything. I don't want to transfer a huge amount of data over a network, which will kill the performance. I don't want to transfer the complete data over a network, which will kill the performance of the application. Are you able to follow this? What is hypermedia? Hypermedia is an engine for application state to transfer the data. Our internet services also will follow the same thing. Now let's search for something in the Google. Let us search for some data in the Google. Is it going to give you everything in the page or is it giving the hyperlinks for you? Now I want to search for Ashok IT. Ashok IT school. Right, good. Now when I search for this, is it giving you complete data or is it giving the hyperlinks for you? it is giving a hyperlink. So if I send a request by using this IP, if I click on this link, then it will give me Ashok IT School GitHub account. Ashok IT School GitHub account it is going to give me. Right. That means here we are following hypermedia. Our internet is following based on hypermedia. So instead of sending complete data in the single request, they are sending the data using hypermedia. Are you able to follow this? So our Roy Fielding also told that internet is working based on the hypermedia. Your REST applications also you need to develop based on the hypermedia. This is one of the example. Assume that this is my REST endpoint URL. This is REST endpoint URL provided by Ashok IT web service, web application. In the Ashok IT web application, there is a web service. If you send a request to that web service, you will get this course ID. So www.ashokit.in/get/cid/101. So you are going to get the course data. But actually in the course data, I can send you course details. I can send you course content also. But what I am doing is why to send the complete data in a single request? Let me provide you high level details of the course. Let me provide you high level details of the course. What is the ID? What is the name? When it is starting? What are the timings? Who is the trainer? Those details I am providing you in that request. But content I am giving you hyperlink. If you access that hyperlink, then you will get the remaining details. Let's observe this JSON file once. This is the REST endpoint URL. You made a request. Get request you made to get this course ID details. I gave you these details in the JSON, but for the content I gave you hyperlink. So we are going to develop our RESTful services also like this. Hypermedia as an engine for application state. Is it clear for all of you? What is the hypermedia? As an engine for application state. So with this, I hope you are clear with all the 5 REST architecture principles. What are those 5 architecture principles available? Unique addressability, uniform constraint interfaces, message oriented representation, communication stateless, and HETEOS. What is the meaning of unique addressability? Every operation in the REST API, we can write several REST controllers, we can write several methods in that. Every controller method should bind to unique address so that people should not get ambiguity problem or people should not get confused with our operations. And to provide easy adaptability, you need to follow uniform constraint interfaces. That means you need to write your methods binding to HTTP protocol methods like get method, post method, put method, delete method according to the requirement. Uniform constraint interfaces. All the methods we are going to bind to HTTP protocol methods. Next one, message oriented representation. The third principle is very powerful. If you don't use this principle, there is no use of going for RESTful services. So what is that message oriented representation or media representation? What is the meaning of that? Can you please text me in the chat box? What is the meaning of that message oriented representation? Come on, fast. What is the meaning of message oriented representation? Can anybody answer that? Representing the data in multiple formats. According to the client requirement, resource can bind the data. If you want XML, I will give you. If you want JSON, I will give you. If you send XML, I will take it. If you send JSON, I will take it. So data can be represented in multiple formats, right? Now, which is used to provide 100% interoperability. That is also called as real interoperability. That is not there in the SOAP. Next, fourth one, communication stateless. Communication stateless. What is the meaning of communication stateless? Communication stateless means no information of the client will be stored at the server. Server should treat every request as a fresh request only. Server has to treat every request as a first request only. Are you able to follow this? Server has to treat every request as a fresh request. But in the web application, we are going to maintain the data in the session, but in the REST API, session concepts should not be used. Sir, if I want to maintain the session in the REST API, what is the way? That means you are not following the principles of the REST architecture. You should not do that. Nobody will do that. If you are storing the data of the client in the server in the REST API, that is a bad programming practice. You should not do that. Every request should be considered as a fresh request or a first request only. Nobody will store client data at the server when it comes to the RESTful services or when it comes to the web services. No sessions concept. No need to store the data. We should not do that. That is the requirement. That is the requirement. That is the standard we need to follow. Just use and throw. Yes, that's it. Send a request. Now assume that I am a resource, you are a client. You send one request, I will give response. Kelkata. If you want to access the data, again send me one more request. I will give you response. Done. Send me third request. I will give you response. Done. Every request I will treat as a fresh request. That's it. That is the standard. That is not my statement, sir. That is universal statement. When it comes to the web services, every request will be treated as a fresh request. That's it. Use and throw. Right. Next one, Hetios. What is the meaning of Hetios, guys? Rajshekhar, you should not do the session management. That is what I am saying. You should not do that. Why to use session in the REST? Why to use session in the web services? There is no concept like that. Then go for normal MVC, web applications, if you want to maintain the session. Then what is the Hetios? Now, what is the purpose of Hetios? Hypermedia as an engine for application state. Hypermedia as an engine for application state. Hypermedia as a transport engine for application state. Hypermedia as an transport engine for application state. That means application will exchange the data through hyperlinks. Application will exchange the data through hyperlinks so that limited data will be provided to the client. For the remaining data, we will give you a hyperlink. If a client accesses that hyperlink, we will provide more details. We will provide more details. Now, in the internet, every applications will be developed based on like that only. Simple. If you see our Ashok IT Institute website also, same principle we are following. Now, so if you click on online training schedules, am I giving the course content here or am I giving a hyperlink to see the course content? Am I displaying the complete course content here or am I giving a hyperlink to access that content? I am giving a hyperlink to access the content. Our internet services are already following this. Internet services are already following this. Now, if you want to enroll for a new batch in this institute, here I am giving a hyperlink or button to click on register so that it will display a form to register. It will display a form to register. So why I am not giving everything here? Everybody who will visit this website, do you think that they will register? No. So that is not the primary response I should give to the client. Primary response, details about the new batches I need to give. Details about the new batches I need to give for the people. If they really required to enroll, if they really want to enroll, then they will click on these hyperlinks. So in the same way, the complete internet services are running like that only. That is the principle Roy Fielding copied from the internet, and he told that as a REST architecture principle. REST architecture principle. Are you able to understand the 5 principles? Anybody has any questions related to these 5 principles? Unique identification, different URL pattern. We will write it, sir. Unique address. How you will write unique URL for your servlet? Similarly, for our REST APIs also we will write unique URL. Hey Baba, anonymous. Who is that anonymous? How session management is done? We should not do that. Concept is not there. Who is this Mr. Ashok? Talk about the current concept, sir. We will discuss about tokens, security in future. Talk about the principles, what I am explaining. What is the advantage of going for stateless communication? Burden will be reduced on the server. Burden will be reduced on the server. If I create a session, for every user one session will be created. If 1 million people access my project, 1 million sessions will be created. 1 million sessions means our server will die. Singleton be your request, your object will be singleton, but request is a fresh request. That's it. Amrita. Your REST controller object will be created only one time, but request will come every time as a fresh request. That means no information will be stored about your details at the server. Singleton scope will be available. I don't see any drawback of the REST. If the REST is having those many drawbacks, why these many people will use in the industry? So alternatives are there for the REST. Vertex APIs are available now. Some new APIs are available to develop REST APIs, but there are different development approaches are there. They may be processed quickly when you compare with the Spring with REST. Vertex is do processing quickly. That is a different programming style. Those things we'll talk about later. Now, all of you good with 5 principles of the REST? Now I want to start one application. All right. Now, yes, if you click on the hyperlink, that will be considered as another request. Hyperlink I am giving you to send you another request. Fine. Building first REST application. First RESTful application using Spring with REST. Using Spring with REST. Right. So Spring MVC, Spring Web MVC module provided support. Spring Web MVC module provide. Guys, please stop messaging in the chat box. Lot of things are coming. Please concentrate on the class. Please don't type any messages. It will disturb others. Don't type anything. If I ask a question, then only type it. Otherwise, don't type anything. Just concentrate on the class. In this GoToMeeting, I don't have an option to stop this chat. That is the problem. Today I will try GeoMeet. GeoMeet came. If it is looking good, then we will go for GeoMeet from tomorrow. I'm not liking this GoToMeeting. Yeah. Now we are trying to understand how to build first RESTful application using Spring Boot or Spring with REST in Spring Boot. Right. Spring WebMVC module supported for web app development and REST app development. For web application development as well as for REST application development, we are using Spring WebMVC. Spring WebMVC jars are sufficient. Spring WebMVC jars are sufficient to build REST application. To build REST application, we are not going to use any separate jar. We are no need to add any separate jar file to build RESTful services by using Spring. If we are using Spring Boot, if we want to develop RESTful services using Spring Boot, then we will add below starter, that is spring boot starter web. So this is the starter that we are going to add in our Spring Boot application, so that we will have a support to develop our REST APIs. Spring Boot starter web is the dependency that I need to add in my pom.xml file. So this starter will provide 3 supports for us. Web application we can develop, REST application we can develop, and embedded container also will be provided to us. Spring Boot web starter provides below 3 functionalities. Whenever you are developing a boot application, we will select one web starter, that is Spring Boot starter web. Spring Boot starter web we are going to take. Spring Boot starter web provides below 3 functionalities for us. One is web application development using MVC, web app development using Spring MVC, REST application development using Spring MVC, that support will be provided. Embedded Tomcat embedded Tomcat container. That means if you add one starter, you are getting 3 functionalities. Web application development using Spring MVC, REST application development using Spring MVC, embedded Tomcat container also will be provided to us. Are you able to follow this? Spring Starter Web provides below 3 functionalities. Web application development using Spring MVC, REST application development using Spring MVC, embedded Tomcat container. These 3 things are going to provide. Monish, I will take your question at the end, man. All of your questions, anybody having any questions, keep it with you. Don't type in the chat box now. I will take all your questions at the end. You can talk to me at the end of the session. Right. So Spring Starter Web, I'm going to add the dependency. If I add the dependency in my pom.xml, it will give me 3 functionalities. One is web application development using Spring MVC. Second one, REST application development using Spring MVC. Third one is embedded Tomcat container will be provided to us. Are you able to follow this? Any questions? What is the dependency that is required to develop a REST API by using Spring Boot? Only one dependency is sufficient, that is Spring Boot web starter, Spring Boot starter web. That one dependency you can use to develop web applications with the UI. You can use that dependency to develop REST applications, and it will provide you Tomcat as a embedded container for you. You don't need to do any additional step here. So environment setup. To develop REST APIs, what is the environment we need? We are using one Spring Tool Suite IDE. In that we are going to create a Spring Boot project. That is sufficient. Nothing else is required for us. In order to develop the REST API, how I need to do the environment setup? Use one IDE. I'm using Spring Tool Suite. In that, create a boot project. In that boot project, add one starter, which is starter web. Then you are good to develop a REST API. All of you able to follow this? Now, steps to build our first REST application. Steps to build first REST application. Steps to build first REST application. Choose IDE. I'm going to use IDE. Create Spring Starter project in IDE. I'm using Spring Tool Suite. You can use IntelliJ also. Create Spring Starter project in our IDE. So here I'm using Spring Tool Suite IDE. Now, note, while creating project, add Spring Boot, add below starter. What is that starter? Guys? Spring boot starter web. Spring boot starter web. This is the one starter dependency we are going to add. Second step, create REST controller. Create REST controller component using below annotation, which is called @REST controller. One new annotation we are going to use here. In the Spring MVC already we used @controller annotation, but to develop a REST API we will use a annotation called @REST controller. @REST controller. So what is this @REST controller? REST controller annotation will make @REST controller annotation will make our class as distributed component. @REST controller annotation will make our class as distributed component. So how to develop a distributed component in the Spring with REST? By using an annotation called @REST controller. Right. Now, third step. Write required methods in REST controller and bind them to HTTP request methods with unique URL pattern. We should write the methods in that REST controller and we should bind them to HTTP request method with the unique URL pattern. Write required methods in REST controller and bind them to HTTP request method with the unique URL pattern. This is the second step that we are going to follow. First and second step we are going to achieve here only. Writing the methods, then binding them to HTTP protocol and binding them to unique URL pattern. Everything we are going to follow here. Write required methods in REST controller and bind them to HTTP request method with unique URL pattern. Are you able to follow this? How to bind them? We will use @getMap. If you want to bind it to a GET request, we will go for GET mapping. If you want to bind to a POST request, we will go for POST mapping. Similarly, PUT mapping and delete mapping. GET mapping, POST mapping, PUT mapping, delete mapping. So these are the annotations that we are going to use to bind our REST controller methods to HTTP methods and URL patterns. In the controller also we can use it. Same we are going to use in the REST controller also. Are you able to follow this? 3 steps that I have written. Go through these 3 steps once, guys. Don't get confused. Very simple. If you know how to develop a servlet, then you can develop a REST API. Very easy. Just read these 3 steps once. All of you read it, sir. I will get some water. Read these 3 steps. Right. Next one. 4th step. Configure below properties in application.yml file or properties file. What are those? Server.port, server.port, only that's it. If required, if you need, if you want to change the port number, you can change that in the YML file, because by default Tomcat container change port number. The reason is, note, by default embedded containers will run on 8080 port in Spring Boot. By default, embedded container will run on 8080 port number in the Spring Boot. But already Oracle is running with the 8080, that's why I'm going to change the port number. Guys, if you observe, one step I missed it when compared with the web application. Can you guess what is that step I missed here? I did not write one step which we used to write in the web application. What is that? Pom.xml. View resolver configuration I did not do. View resolver configuration I did not do. So tell me, what is the reason why I am not writing view resolver configuration? Views will not be available in the REST APIs. In the web services, presentation logic will not be available. Presentation logic will not be available. There will not be any front end. There will not be any front end for the web services. Same concept if you go for SOAP or if you go for REST, front end will not be available. So that is the reason I am not writing any view resolver here. I am not writing any view resolver here. REST API will return raw response to the clients. Directly response will be returned from the REST APIs to the REST clients. Directly data will be exchanged. No concept of the presentation. There is no concept of the presentation. So that is the reason I am not writing any view resolver here. Are you able to follow this? What are the steps we need to follow to develop our first REST API? Is it clear for all of you? Or still anybody not able to understand these 4 steps? Creating a project with one starter, creating a class with one annotation, then writing a methods and binding them to HTTP, then configuring the below properties. Alright, now let's convert this into executable program and see. Using my ToolSuite IDE here. I'm using ToolSuite IDE. Now go to File, New, Spring Starter Project, File, New, Other. I'm going for Spring Starter Project. Net connection is mandatory, sir. Whenever you are creating a project, right, in the STS, net connection is mandatory because it will connect to Spring Initializer website. So if you observe https://start.spring.io, it is connecting to Spring Initializer website. Now let me change the project name, that is Spring Boot First REST app. So we are building our first REST application by using Spring Boot. So I'm not changing anything else. Service URL, it is Spring Initializer website. This is my project name. Build tool, I am using Maven. Packaging is WAR. Version is Java version is 8. Language is Java only. If you want, you can go for Kotlin or Groovy also. But I am using Java to create our application. So these are the details I'm selecting. Click on next. Yeah. Here we need to select the dependencies. Here we need to select the dependency and it is choosing by default latest version of the boot. Spring Boot latest version is 2.3.1. Very soon 2.4 also is going to come. But current stable version is 2.3.1. Here you can search for a dependency called web. You can search for a dependency called web. Spring web dependency we are going to search. Here 3 types of web is there. Spring Web is there, Spring Reactive Web is there, Spring Web Services is there. Spring Web Services, if you want to work with SOAP-based web services in the Spring. If you want to work with SOAP-based web services in the Spring, we will use Spring Web Services dependency. If you want to work with reactive programming, Spring 5.x features, we will go for Spring Reactive Web, WebFlex and Netty. If you want to use excuse me. Now, Spring Web, to build web-based applications using MVC, and to build REST applications we will use WebStarter. If you want to use the reactive programming, Spring 5.x version features, reactive web we need to use. Now, if you want to develop SOAP-based web services in the use Spring, you can go for Spring Web Services dependency. So here I'm selecting a dependency called Spring Web dependency. All of you clear with this? Why I am selecting Spring Web? I can select reactive web also, no problem. But web services I am not selecting because that is meant for developing SOAP-based web services. Are you able to follow me? Click on next, click on finish. Packaging is WAR. A publication, right? I am giving as a WAR. Yeah. Our application is getting created, guys. Let's wait. Yes, we can take all jar also. Because boot applications will run from the main method, right? We can take jar also, no problem. So application is getting created. Let's wait few seconds. Now go to pom.xml. Yeah, dependencies. See here, I selected one dependency. One dependency is selected, but here several dependencies are displaying. See them. What are those? Spring Boot Starter Web. This is what we selected at the time of project creation. Then by default, Starter Tomcat is coming as the embedded container. Then JUnit dependency is coming for us. So these are the dependencies that are there. Starter Web, Starter Tomcat, and Starter Test. That is the only thing that is there. Now after this, by default, one class is created which is called start class of the Spring Boot, from where the project execution is going to begin. From where the project execution is going to begin, that is called Spring Boot start class. Now see here what is there in this start class. Two things will be available. One is Spring application.run method, another one is Spring Boot application. We discussed very clearly how things are working in the Spring Boot internally. So this is a start class. Any explanation required? What is Spring application.run method? What is at Spring Boot application annotation? We spent a lot of time to understand these internals. Got it. In the YouTube also videos are available with these concepts. The explanation classes are already uploaded to YouTube channel also. Spring Boot tutorial for beginners in Ashok IT. You can get the details about how start class is going to work. Apart from this, there is one more class called initializer. Servlet initializer, Spring Boot Servlet initializer, which is going to initialize the web components which are required to run this application. So this, in the web application, the Servlet initializer will be available, which is used to initialize the web components which are required to run our web application, like dispatcher, servlet, handler mappers. So those components will be registered with this Servlet initializer component. So with this, pom.xml is clear. And two classes which are created also clear. One is a start class, another one is a initializer class. Start class is the entry point for the boot application execution. Initializer class will initialize the web components which are required to load when the application starts. Fine. Now I want to create distributed component. Can you tell me how to create a distributed component? I want to develop a REST component now. Can you tell me how can I create a REST component? Create a class by using an annotation called @REST controller. What is @REST controller? It is a predefined annotation in the Spring MVC to represent our Java class as a distributed component. To represent our Java class as a distributed component. Now let me create that class. REST controllers are called as resources. They're called as resources, REST resource. So I will create a class inside a package called resources. Resource nothing but REST component. com.ashokit.resources. Here I'm going to create one welcome resource or welcome REST controller. Anything is fine. I created a simple Java class. Now I will make this Java class as a distributed component by writing @REST controller. at the rate REST controller. Now observe guys, at the rate REST controller is not a stereotype annotation, but at the rate controller is a stereotype annotation. This is a web binding annotation. It is used to bind our class to the web service, right? Public class welcome REST controller, right? So that is the annotation. Let us see the details in that annotation. So what is the meaning of REST controller? What is the meaning of the REST controller? Now you can tell me what is REST controller? Others, now look at my screen. What is the meaning of the REST controller? Controller plus response body. When this annotation is introduced, when this annotation is introduced, 4.0. How to develop REST APIs before 4.0? How to develop REST APIs before 4.0? Controller plus response body. Now, everybody using RESTful services in the project, they are writing controller plus response body, controller plus response body. Then Spring thought that, alright, let's combine these two and give one annotation. That's where REST controller came into picture. This REST control annotation introduced in the Spring 4.4.0 version. Before that also we can develop a REST API, but at that time we need to use at the rate REST controller plus response body, that is equal to REST controller. From the 4.0 onwards, direct annotation is available to represent our component as a distributed component, which is at REST controller. All of you clear with this? What is the difference between controller and REST controller? All right. Now, once you create your class as a REST controller, you can write any methods. You can write n number of methods. Now, public string welcome message. Public string welcome message. Now here I will write directly string message. So welcome to Ashok IT. I am returning some value. Controller will return a logical view name. REST controller method will return a response directly. Now this is the method. Very simple method I am taking, which is returning a string value. Public string welcome message. The return type of this method is a string. The string represents response body. Whatever the message I am returning, this is a response body. But same thing if I do in the controller, this will be considered as a logical view name. That is the another difference between controller and REST controller. That is another difference between controller and REST controller. Are you able to follow this? So what is the return value of the REST controller method? What is the return value of the REST controller method? Response body. What is the default return value of the controller method? What is the default return value of the controller method? Logical view name. Can I return response directly from the controller method also? Yes, by using response body. Controller plus response body. Instead of using both, I can directly use a REST controller so that the return value will be a response body directly. Now, people can access my method or people cannot access my method now. If I develop a REST controller like this, people can access my method or people cannot access my method. Cannot access. Can you tell me what is the reason? Yes. We should bind this method to HTTP method. We should bind this method to URL pattern. We should bind this to HTTP method and we should bind this to URL pattern. Now, URL mapping we can do at two places. Class level mapping we can do and method level mapping also we can do. Class level mapping we can do as well as method level mapping also we can do. Recommended to do both. Now, here I am doing @request mapping. @request mapping /welcome. /welcome, but it is also optional. Writing URL pattern at the class level is optional. Right. Now I'm going to write at the method level, which is @getMapping /welcome. /welcome. So what is the meaning of this? This method is binded to HTTP GET request with /welcome as the URL pattern. This method is binded to HTTP GET request with welcome as the URL pattern. Are you clear with this one? This method is binded to HTTP GET request with welcome as the URL pattern. Now with this our REST controller is completed. Look at the code. All of you clear with this code, whatever I have written in the REST controller? Good. Now next to go for configuration part. As it is a Spring Boot, very less configuration. Just I'm changing the port number because I have Oracle software installed in my system. If Oracle is not there, this is also not required. Server.port is equal to 8083. I'm giving the port number as 8083. Anything you can give. With this, our REST API is completed. With this, our REST API is completed. So how simple it is to develop a REST API. It is just like we are developing a servlet. Create a servlet class, map to URL pattern in the web.xml. Here, simply we are giving the annotation to map the URL pattern. That's it. Server.port is equal to 8083. I'm configuring this. Context path, if you want, you can write it. By default, it will be empty. If you want, you can write the context path, but by default, it will be empty. All of you clear? Good. Now, let us run this application. Let us run this application. Run as boot app. Yeah. Now let us check console. Application started with the port number 8083. What is the context path for this? Empty. No context path we specified. Now let's go to browser. Can I send HTTP GET request from the browser directly? Can I send HTTP GET request from the browser directly? Yes, it is just like typing the URL. How you will access, how you are accessing a Facebook? In the same way, you can access a REST API. In the same way, you can access a REST API. Now, see here. Let me open a new tab in the browser. Right. Let me access this. HTTP colon localhost colon 8083 slash welcome. Welcome to Ashokite. So are we able to access our REST API or not? Now if I deploy this application to my cloud server, everybody can access this API. You don't need to know anything about it. If you know how to send the request in the browser, then you can access my REST API. How simple it is. Suppose if it is a SOAP, you can't access like this. You need to develop a SOAP request, then only you can access. But for the rest, accessibility, adaptability is very easy. For the REST API, adaptability is very easy. So you don't need to know much details about the programming also if you want to become a client for my REST application. But if you want to become a consumer for my web service, you need to know the SOAP, then only you can access. But REST applications are very easy to access. Easy accessibility will be available for the RESTful services. That is the reason they are more famous in the market. All of you clear with this one? Anybody has any question? And building a first REST application, very simple. So successfully we completed our first REST application right now. So going forward, I am not going to access these applications from the browser. I will use one software called Postman. Spring MVC is a module which is used to develop web applications and RESTful applications. Right. MVC is a module which is used to develop REST applications as well as web applications. Now this can be called as REST API, which is a providing service. This is called as an API. Mr. Ravindra, did I use a request body here? Did I explain you what is request body? Then what is that question? Why are you disturbing in the middle? When I explain about request body, then you can ask question related to that. I did not even start what is request body, but you are asking a question about it. Please concentrate on the current topic, what is going on. So now, whatever the application that I developed, now this application can be called as a REST API. Now we developed one REST API. Inside this REST API, one REST resource is available. REST resource nothing but, in our terminology, it is called as a REST controller. One REST resource we have developed here. we developed a REST resource. This REST resource is available inside one web application that is developed by Spring Boot. Now, once this REST API is available from the mobile, from a mobile you can access that, from a system you can access that, from the browser you can access that, from any location you can access this REST application. Multiple clients can be available for the REST application. Using a project you can access, using a browser you can access, using Postman you can access, using SOAP UI you can access. Like this, multiple people can access my application from multiple locations. Easy adaptability, real interoperability will be available in my REST application. These are called as clients. These all are called as clients. Now this is called as API. This is called as API, REST API. I developed it. That REST API can access by multiple people. Whoever is accessing my REST API, they are called as my REST clients. They are calling as they are called as my clients. If you can access my REST application, then you will be called as my client. Then who can access my REST API? Anybody who is capable of sending one HTTP request can access my REST API. Anybody who is capable of sending one HTTP request can access my API. Generally, non-programmers also sending a request www.facebook.com. That means they are sending a HTTP GET request. In the same way, they can also access my project easily www.ashokit.in or www.ashokit.in/welcome. They can access my API. They can access my API. Are you able to follow this, guys? So who can be client for the REST API? Anybody who is capable of sending one HTTP request can be called as a REST client. Anybody who is capable of sending one HTTP request is called as REST client. All of you able to understand this? So what is REST API and what is REST client? What is REST API and what is REST client? REST API nothing but one project which is providing services to other projects. People will call as a RESTful service, some people will call as a REST project, some people will call it as a REST API. REST API nothing but it is one project which is providing services to other projects. Then what is REST client? The application or anybody or any application which is accessing the REST API is called as REST client. Who can be the clients for the REST API? Anybody who is capable of sending one HTTP request is called as REST client. Anybody who is capable of sending one HTTP request is called as REST client. So some people will ask, sir, what is the difference between RESTful service and REST API? Both are same. REST API or RESTful service, both are same. They are providing services to others. REST client means who is a person can access a API, a application can access a API. Anybody who is capable of sending one HTTP request to per my project, that person can be called as REST client. All of you clear with this? What is REST API and what is REST client? REST template is one class which is used to send a request to the REST API. That we will talk in the client logic. How application will access? I will discuss that in the client development. When I start REST client development, I will tell you. For next few days, next 1 week, we are going to develop only API side. That means I am going to do the development this side now. I'm going to develop this side. Once we are clear with the API development, then we will learn about the client development. Two parts, movie first half and second half. First half the movie, resource development, that is API development as a producer providing the services. Second part of the movie, if somebody developed a API, how to access it. I have some third party APIs which I have deployed to my PCF account. Clients development I am going to show you. Yeah, Climax also will integrate both. I will develop a API, I will deploy to the cloud. I will develop a client, I will deploy to the cloud. Then we will access them by using Angular. That is the Climax. Angular integration I am going to show you. All of you clear with this? What is REST API and what is REST client? This terminology should be clear for you before going to start the applications, guys. Before going to start the applications, you should be clear with the terminology first. You should not get confused. Sir, what is client? What is API? API will be developed by one company. Client will be developed by other company. API means which will provide the service. Client means which will access a service. Now, I developed one REST API, welcome API. You can access my API. You will become a client for me. You will become a client for me. Able to follow this? Now, let me search. I think I have deployed my few APIs to the PCF. Pivotal Cloud Foundry. I think did I have credentials? I forgot. Human would access for testing purpose, sir. So this is the cloud platform that I use in the class to deploy my REST APIs or microservices to the cloud platform. Thank God, password is saved. Pivotal Web Services. Web service is very interesting subject. Very interesting subject. It is not like our JSP and all. Right. Now, let me start these applications once. Currency Exchange API. Start. Now, I am running my application in the cloud, sir. I deployed this application in my previous Spring Boot microservices batch. I deployed these applications to the cloud platform. Now I am starting my application in the cloud, PCF. So this is a API. It is taking time to start. This can be called as a API. Successfully started. Now my application is successfully started in the cloud. Now tomorrow I will ask you people to develop a client for this. Tomorrow I will ask you people to develop a client for this. /get, I think I forgot the URL, get currency exchange cost from USD to INR. Yeah, perfect. I remember the URL, thank God. Now this is the URL, sir. This is the URL. We'll develop different application, not this. This is the URL where I developed one REST API I deployed into the cloud. Now you can also access that application from your system. Can you try that once? Can you try my URL? So what is my API returning now? What is my API returning to you? JSON. Is it returning a UI? Is there any UI for that? No, this is a raw response. This is a raw response. Like this, tomorrow in your company also, REST APIs will be deployed to the cloud platforms. You are going to get the URL. You need to access that URL by developing your client logic. By developing your client logic, you are going to access that. Yes, it will work, sir. It is running in the Pivotal cloud platform, PCF. Yes. Now, here whenever you that project also developed, whatever the URL that you are accessing, that project also developed by using Spring Boot with REST API. If you see my previous Facebook group name, I updated for that, Tech Leads. That was my Facebook group name earlier. I changed it to Ashok IT now. So I deployed this with this name. This is the URL which is running in the PCF. This application will not contain any UI because it is just a REST API. It is just a REST API. Are you able to follow this? What is API now means now? What APIs will return to the clients? What API will return to the client? Either raw data, not only JSON, sir. Now I am returning JSON. Yeah, I can return XML also, right? I can return text also. Raw data. APIs always will return raw data. REST controller operations always will return raw data. When you go for controller, when you will go for controller, what it will return? View, logical views it is going to return. Or controller also can return the response body, that is special scenario, but the default return value of the controller is a view component, but the default return value of the REST controller is a raw data. Here my REST API which is running in the PCF returning you JSON. Are you follow this? Now, can I call this TechLeads project as a REST API now? It is providing services for you. You are going to act as a client. Now, did I tell you which technology I used here, or did I tell you any documentation for accessing this API? No, I just gave the URL. You are able to access. See how easily you are able to access the REST APIs. How easily you are able to adapt the REST APIs. But when I go for SOAP, this facility will not be available. This much of luxury will not be available when you go for SOAP based web services. To reduce that length of the URL, sir, we need to purchase the account. I am using a free account in the PCF. If you want to reduce that, you need to purchase the plan. If you give your credit card, I will show you how to reduce that. Bashir, are you ready? Within 5 minutes of time, I will show you how to short that URL. And I will make it your name, www.bashir.com. Okay? Right. I will show you in the live. Everything will be practical, sir. When once my microservices are started, I will show you how to customize this URL, how to keep your own URL here. Everything will be there. BashirCurrency.com. Good URLs, Charan. Yeah, forget about this. Just I want to tell you how APIs are going to run. Which way? Are we clear with how to develop our first API? Developers don't do that, but I will tell you how to do that also. Developers will not deploy to the PCF. That PCF separate team will be there. In my project, we are using PCF only, and we are migrating very soon to AWS. So we have good experience with the PCF. I will tell you how to create accounts in the PCF, how to deploy your application also. You will be, once microservices are started, you will be able to bring your applications to the live. That is my guarantee. You can tell to your friends, hey, I developed this project, can you access in your mobile? Yes, they can able to access that. How you good you feel, whatever the project you develop, that can be accessed from the Google. Yeah, you can tell to your friends, array, I joined Spring Boot microservices class, I developed a REST API, could you please access that from your mobile? Tell to your friends, they will be able to access. Now you are able to access my API, right? Similarly, your APIs also people can access. I will show you that part as well. Everything is practical, sir. Whatever I am doing in my company, everything we are going to learn. In my company, we are using PCF currently. So I will tell you how to work with the PCF. It is almost DevOps. Who will deploy the code to the PCF and AWS? DevOps engineers. So here, 1+1 offer. If you join for Boot microservices, DevOps I am giving for free. 90% of the DevOps I am covering. Just I am not announcing a new batch for the DevOps, that's it. But almost everything is covering except that Linux part. 10% is missing, Linux part is missing, that's it. All of you good with this? And for tomorrow's class, I want you people to develop this part, develop this API and test it once. And one more thing, one software I want you people to install in your system, sir. That is called Postman. That is called Postman. No. So go to Google and type as Postman plugin. Postman plugin for Chrome. Yeah. So the first link you are getting, Postman Chrome Web Store. This one, Postman Google Chrome. Yes. When you go for Postman, here as I already installed, it is giving me an option called launch application. If you are doing that, if you click that link for first time, it will give you install option. It will give you install option. In your browser, you can type this URL. It will give you that option. Install option will be available for you. You can directly install that Postman plugin. So before coming to tomorrow's class, I want you people to install that Postman part. Because from tomorrow we will use Postman as a client. Postman we are going to use as a client for that. Now I am accessing from the browser, right? From tomorrow I don't open the browser. I'm going to use Postman as a tool which is used to test our APIs, because currently we are playing the role of the API developer. For next 1 week we are going to develop APIs only. So to test our API functionality, we will use Postman as a tool, testing tool for the REST API. After we are comfortable with API development and testing, then we will change our role to client development. REST client developer. We'll become a client after 1 week. Then we'll develop a clients for that. First we should know API development, then we will develop client. When it comes to the microservices, you should know both. You should develop API and you should develop the client also. Because we are going to develop multiple microservices which are going to communicate with each other. So by looking at the URLs, we can't understand whether they are using boot or not, sir. By looking at the URL, we can't know that. Test cases we can write in the Postman. Yes, test will perform by using Postman. I want you people to install that plugin. See, very simple, guys. Just go to Google, type Postman plugin for Chrome. That's it. You will get the first link. Postman plugin for Chrome. Postman plugin for the Chrome. Now it is already available in my system. I have already installed that. That's why it is launch app option is coming. If you did not install already, it will give you install option. Now, when I click on it, my Postman is opening. This is my Postman tool. It will ask you to log in. First, you have to create one account for that. It is free of cost. Yeah, it is taking time, sir. It is loading. Yeah. Download Postman. Chrome is now the Postman app. You can download it as a separate app also as a desktop application. Right. Close it. Close it. Right. This is the home page of the Postman. Once you log in, this home page will be displayed. The UI is little bit light color, sir. This I did not like in the Postman. They should have used some different color for this. Are you able to see? Are you able to see my Postman? Right. So this is my Postman homepage. Now I can access my REST API by using this Postman also. Here there is an option what type of request we need to send. What type of request we need to send, we have that option. I'm selecting as a get. I want to send a get request. Request URL. What is the URL that you need to hit? Your API URL you need to type. My API is running on http colon localhost colon 8083 slash welcome. Right. Now click on send. Here option is there. Click on send. Yeah. Now I got the response from the API with welcome to Ashok IT as a response body, and the status code is the 200. We will talk about the status codes also. HTTP status codes also we are going to discuss. These are very important. So I am able to test the functionality of the REST API by using my Postman. Postman is called as a testing tool for the REST API. SOAP UI also you can use. SOAP UI can be used to test both SOAP providers and the REST APIs. But Postman is used only for the REST APIs. Postman is used only for the REST APIs. So very simple installation part. For tomorrow's class, everybody should come up with this Postman installation in your Chrome browser. All good? Right guys, with this we completed our first REST application development as well as testing also. Thank you.